Good morning, everybody. Or maybe it's good afternoon, or maybe it's good evening, or heck, maybe it's the middle of the night when you're watching this. Although that kind of weird if you're watching this in the middle of the night, but hey, to each their own. So this is take number 4. This is only supposed to be a 10-minute video, but every time I do these videos, when it's just me and the computer and this pen, you can even see it because my background is like, ooh, goes disappears. Um, it's weird. So I keep restarting thinking, oh, I'll do better next time. I'll do better. It's not getting any better. So we're just going to plow through this time. We're just going to get through it. I'm going to do this video. It's going to be a little weird for me, but hopefully you'll get something out of it. And that's the important thing is that I want you to understand how to write a news lead. It's the basis of journalism. It's the very basic thing. If we can write a news lead, then we can learn how to write feature stories. We can learn how to write editorial stories. We can really grow from there. But the news lead is the beginning, and it's where we start in journalism when we're writing. So what is it? It's the news peg of the story. It's the most important information. It's the newest information. It's what your reader needs to need. Excuse me. Ooh, we're not going to retake, so I'm going to say it again. It's what your reader needs to know most. So we live in a really crazy, busy world. It's not really that busy right now, but normally it's really busy. It's still definitely very crazy. Um, and often our readers don't read the whole story. So what we have to think to ourselves is if they only read that first sentence, that first paragraph of our story, can I give them what they really need to know? You know, that's what we really want to give them in the news lead is the essential items. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a UIL news writing prompt. And before we do that, we have to use our imagination a little, okay? So you have to think you are a student at Leaguetown High School. That's where you go now. When you read this prompt, that's your school. Leaguetown High School is your school. And the news writing prompt, those are your notes. That's all the reporting you did. We did it for you. We wrote it all down. Well, that's your reporter's notebook right there. And then you're writing the news story for the students at your school. And remember, you go to Leaguetown High School. So that's what I need you to think about as you start looking at this prompt. Now, this is the prompt that we're going to use, and I've included this prompt on the website. So right now, if you haven't read this prompt, pause the video, turn it off, whatever you need to do, and read the prompt. I've already read it, so I'm not going to pause. I'm going to say pause, pause, pause. We're going to assume you've all read it now. So this is the prompt we're working on. And if you're participating in one of our contests, a UIL contest, this is what you would get. You would get 2 pages of a news story, and we'd give you 45 minutes to write a news story. But before you can write a full news story, you've got to start with a lead. You've got to understand how to write that lead. And remember, we're looking for that newest information. So after we read that prompt, we think, well, what is it? What is that important stuff? What are those 5 W's and the H that are the most important things? So the what, okay, well, we know Principal John Eduardo proposed adding a 40-minute flex time to the schedule. Okay, that's really what's going on. That's the most important, newest information. Why did he do it? Well, the student council asked for a study hall. When? Well, this is important. The when is always going to be important. And we have 2 dates for this story. First, we have when he'll ask the school board to approve his proposal. And then we also have the date of when the new study hall period would start if the school board approved it. And then our how is if the school board approves the proposal. The who and the where are not so important. I guess the who would kind of be John Eduardo and the where is Leaguetown, but those are kind of embedded in our other who, what, where, the what, the when, the why, the how. So we don't have to really focus on those for our really important information for this news story. This news story, it's the what, the why, the when, and the how that are most important. So if we pull these elements out, if we pull it in everything else in the story, while it may be important and we may want to put those things in the story, different facts along the way, this is essential. This is what the reader needs to know at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if they only read that first paragraph, they need to know the student body might get a flex period, a study hall period, if the school board approves it. So if we look at all of this information, before we write, what do we need to know? We're going to use this information back here to write our lead, but let's look at some things that we need to know before we write our lead. First of all, a news lead is only going to be about 30 to 60 words. In journalism, our paragraphs are really short. We do that for two reasons. Number one, in journalism, we write concisely. We write really tight. We don't want to be too wordy. And then we also write shorter paragraphs because it kind of fools the reader. When you're reading a novel, do you ever like skip those really long paragraphs and go to where the dialogue is, go to those short paragraphs? I do. I'm 50 years old and I still do that. That's why I listen to audiobooks so much. Um, anyways, so part of it is to fool the reader, but part of it is also to make sure that we're writing concisely and tightly. So make sure our lead is short, 30 to 60 words. That's all we're asking in this assignment, is a 30 to 60 word assignment. And then we also are only going to write in third person. When we write a news story, we're going to be third person only. That means he and she, no yous, no we's, no I's, unless it's in a direct quote and somebody's saying that. Third bullet, we have to be objective, okay, and fair. So we have to keep our opinion out of the lead. Whether we think the flex time is a good idea or a bad idea, that doesn't come across in a news story. That's an editorial. So we're going to keep our opinion out of the lead and out of the entire news story. Talked about being concise. We want to try to use active voice as much as we can. And then remember, we had two whens. So before we write the lead, we always have to look at the whens because we're always focused on the newest information for our readers. So we need to look and see, when is our story going to be published and how does it relate to those two dates that are in our story? So our story that we're writing is going to be published the day before the school board meeting. It says that in the prompt, so that's really important that we look at that. So we need to know these things. And then what we don't want to include in our lead, we don't want to put the name of our school because it's our school, right? We don't want to put unimportant facts. We don't need to know how big the school is, where the school is located, anything like that. We want to put only the newest information. So anything that's not 100% related to the newest information, we're going to leave out. Because remember, we only have 30 to 60 words to get this information to our reader. So let's look at a couple examples of what a good lead could look like. Okay, here's one. A 40-minute flex period could be added to the schedule after spring break if the school board approves Principal John Eduardo's proposal at its meeting tomorrow. The daily flex period would serve as a study hall for students, Eduardo said. I want you to think about how much information is in this little tiny paragraph. Okay, it's a short paragraph, but we have all of that important information that we listed several slides back. We have the two whens, okay? We have the meeting tomorrow, and we have that it would start after spring break. We have what? We have that 40-minute flex period. We have that it's the proposal. We have that it would be a study hall and when it would start. The thing that we don't have is we don't have the student council piece in there. I don't think that we have to, but I think it would be nice if we could. But we have the important stuff. The students could read just this paragraph and they could get a lot of really good information for the story. Or we could do something like this. After listening to a suggestion from the student council, Principal John Eduardo proposed adding a 40-minute study hall to the schedule. The school board will vote on its proposal at its meeting tomorrow, and if approved, the new study hall would begin after spring break. This one, I think, is a little bit better. It's got all the information in it, and it's also got that student council element, which makes it a little bit more student-centered, because remember, we're writing for the student audience. A couple things that I want you to take note on these is that neither one of these leads, this lead, the 40-minute, starts with a 40-minute flex period, and this one starts with after listening to a suggestion. Neither one of those leads start with a who, and they start with a when or a where. So we don't ever want to start with an in League Town. We're going to try not to start with Principal John Eduardo. We're going to try to start with the what or the how. And we also want to try to avoid the when. So look at the different ways that these two started, but we try to avoid, we actually probably are never going to have the word League Town in our lead unless there's two schools. For some reason, the story's about two schools and we need it for clarification. But both of these leads are good leads. So what I want you to do now is I want you along with this video, I attached the prompt that we looked at for this one, okay, so this was Invitational A Meet 2020. I've also attached Invitational B Meet 2020. And your charge now is to read that prompt, pull out, okay, whether you underline, whether you highlight, whether you take notes, however you do it, figure out what's the newest information, what do our readers really need to do, and then write a 30 to 60 word lead. Now remember to follow this. Make sure you write in third person, make sure you're objective, write in active voice, and make sure you pay very, very close attention to that time element. Um, so read Invitational B, write a lead, and I tell you what, you can even email it to me and I'll give you feedback. My email is jacton, so JACTON at uiltexas.org. Your teachers all have my email. So you can email me and I'll even give you feedback if you do Invitational B. So I challenge you to do that. We have lots and lots of prompts at UIL where you can practice your lead writing. I'll continue making videos to take you through writing the entire news article, but we've got to make sure that we understand lead writing first before we move on to do the rest of the story. So good luck, get at it, enjoy yourselves, and have a fantastic day. Now I have to stop the video and I have to find the button.